Why, hello, Flosstube. I am here for a long overdue stitching update. I am here to talk about Nashville Market, which is in a matter of days or hours, if you even want to look at it that way. I am here to talk about a fundraiser. If you remember the Duck Derby, you can see all of this next to me. That will be to come. Perchance a raffle and chance to get your hands on tons of stitching goodness. And I'm going to talk about some books if I have time here at the end, because that has been my new anxiety obsession in the evenings when I'm taking a bath or I'm trying to get to sleep at night. So yes, let's just get started. Let's dive in. I have some coffee and I'm surrounded by stuff. So this is going to be a good time. Get your hot drink, get something to write stuff down with as I talk about Nashville stuff that is on my must list, and let's just jump in. I worked on very few things because I've definitely been in a mindset recently of progress. I worked on a peacock, a unicorn, and a badger. I brought that over from the beginning of the year some more, and I love this piece. It is like adult coloring, and it's just soothing and exactly what I need with my stress and my anxiety and what's going on in the world. So yeah, adult coloring. I recommend it. I did all of this over here that you can see, getting in those outlines and the squirrel. It was just a lot of fun. Just so much fun. So yes, a peacock, a unicorn, a badger. If you love it and it feels daunting for you, so what? Like, get it. Grab a little bit of the DMC. Get a cheap piece of linen, which, well, cheap. This is not a dyed piece of linen. This is an inexpensive plain Zweigart, or on the more inexpensive side of linens, because you're gonna cover the entire thing. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It just has to be the count that you like. So yeah, it's so much fun. If you have thought about it, get it. Now there are some people who are doing it on a green linen so that they don't have to stitch the background. You can check that out. But you know, I like the background. I find it very soothing. Next, I pulled out and finished something. I pulled this out for the 13th of January and just stuck with it until I was done. This is, and I'll show you the chart. This is Moon Moth Pink Heat by Stacy Nash. I did this in the called for threads, except for I changed the carriage black to just, I think I used anchor black because I had a lot of that on hand. So I just wanted a really saturated black. And this is on a leftover fabric that I had dyed myself. So, sorry. If you really love it. But is very similar to what is called for here, and what is called for is 36 count Dixie sampler linen in Gretchen's Gray. That is not something I've ever used before, but it is very pretty. But I already had this, so that's what I used. So this is done. It's finished. That is something checked off my list, which is very exciting. Before I show you what I'm working on now, I'll show you some stitchy gifts and one piece of haul. As you know, I've been in the fabric club from the Stitch Me. I did take myself out of that club, not because the fabrics aren't wonderful, not because they're not beautiful, but because I'm running out of room for places to put fabrics. I have quite a plethora. And I'm going to try this year to not start a ton of things, just because I have so much going already. There's a closet right here, and it has a 9-cube shelf in it that is pretty full with project bags. So there's that, with projects in them. What I received for my January fabric of the month from Bestitch Me is a gold piece of fabric called Honey. It's very pretty. I don't use a lot of gold anymore, but something will look perfect on this. So it will go into the stash. The very, very, very sweet Vintage Owl Lady Susan. If you watched my my vlog that I did, I believe it was my holiday vlog, you would have seen me go and meet her when I cleaned out that closet, and I gave her a ton of like quilting and sewing fabrics. Well, she apparently felt the need to gift me with a bag with some of the fabrics that I had given her. So this is just a nice wintry bag. Very beautiful with a snowflake charm. So sweet. Thank you, Susan. Check her out on Instagram. She's also on Etsy, but if you follow her on Instagram and like get notifications for her posts, you'll know when she puts up a new bag, because like she'll put one up and it sells. She'll put one up and it sells. She also saw in a video that I had said that I really needed to restock my Legacy Picture This Plus. She sent me a beautiful piece. Susan, you spoil me. So sweet of you. The last thing that is in here for me to show, speaking of being spoiled by friends, Stitching May, one of my best friends, not just my best stitchy friend, but one of my best friends, she lives pretty local to me, said that since the Color and Cotton Thread Club was canceled, she was sending me a month of Thread Club, which just means she went on Stitchy Stuff. This is hand-dyed 8 yards of cotton, and picked out some colors that she liked and sent them to me. Stitching friends, guys, because that's how we met. Just the stitching community. And like, stitchers are the best. Okay, my current stitching obsession, which means I'm working on it right now, and I'm about to take it off of this Q-snap because, ooh, okay, because it is time for it to be moved on the Q-snap. I did not stitch last night. And don't worry, it's not like reading is taking over my stitching time. I'm just not stitching as much right now because I'm just really busy with work stuff, and my brain just hasn't been there. Last night I got home from work and I really wanted pancakes. So rather than make pancakes at home, I was like, Jen, let's go to IHOP. And regardless what you think of IHOP, I really like IHOP. And there is one like maybe a mile and a half from our house. Like we live in a perfect spot, I feel like. It's a quiet in the city neighborhood, like on a circle of a road that there's not traffic on. But if I drive like a mile that way, there's all kinds of restaurants and a Target and a Publix and Kroger and so many things. So I feel like it's kind of the best of both worlds. Eventually I would like to live somewhere more rural and quiet, but at this point in our life, this is good. I digress. So what I have really been focused on is Martha Putsey. This is a Scarlet House chart that I had when I pulled it out talking about things I wanted to work on. Really thought I had more done on. So I was just kind of disappointed in my lack of progress on it, and I said I want to get some progress on that in 2025. So I pulled it out and I said I'm going to get a little bit more of the border done. that has now turned into, I'm going to finish the border before I put this down. Okay, this is how it goes. That is the only thing about finishing the border first. Like, you've got to know, like, I know I have the selvage on the left-hand side. So, and this is with the called for DMC on a piece of Lakeside Linens 36 count vintage maple sugar. Maple sugar? Maple syrup? I always forget. I think it's maple sugar. Yeah, I've gotten a lot done since I pulled this back out. I did only have like a few little lollipops in this corner, and that was it. So I worked my way over here, and now I'm working my way down the left side, and I've rounded. And let's cross our fingers that as I make my way towards that other corner, that this border meets up, because I'm not just doing one line, I am getting it all in there. So yeah, and here's kind of a close-up of some of it so you can see. There is another small border that runs along the interior, just a one line, but I decided I'm gonna do that later. Yeah, I mean, a border is soothing, and I think that is why I've gotten so fixated on it. It is also, until it doesn't match up, it is soothing to work on. And this one, it's not completely the same. Like, the corners are different, and the sides might be a different count. Like, this side might be a different count from this side, but once you're going on a side, it's like a consistent count. So you can kind of just get into the flow of it. But yeah. So that's going to go back on my Q-snap, and we'll get worked on this evening, because this evening will be a stitching evening. So that is all. Oh, and I am keeping that in a vintage owl lady bag. I really like this one. To me, it looks like vintage plates, or maybe like handkerchief designs. Really pretty. Okay, next I'm going to, because these are charts I don't own, this is all Nashville Needlework Market. These are the things that I think are standouts in Nashville Needlework Market that have been released, that they're going to be there as of today. And today is March 5th. So there's still a couple of days for people to do releases. And if something really crazy comes out, I'll talk about it next time. But as of right now, okay, I'm going to do them in order of like ones that I think are definitely noteworthy and I might consider, all the way down to I am ordering this. This is the belle of the ball, like, is a way to put it. Okay, first, of course, I am going to mention this. It's not my typical style, but this is definitely an Emily chart. This is Books and Plants by Puntini. If I'm mispronouncing that, my sincere apologies, but someone correct me if I'm saying that incorrectly. So yeah, of course, it says a house is not a home without books and plants. I think I should order this one. I definitely think I should, because these are shorter bookshelves and I've got stitching and other things up above them. In fact, let's tilt you guys up so you can see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's definitely room for growth on that wall. So that is a maybe order. Next, we have one from Shakespeare's Peddler. This is Hope. I love the message. I love the saturation of the black in the center, that medallion, and the way that it's kind of off center. Like, this has really good composition, which I think that Teresa Vanette is just, she's the queen of. Like, she has an artist's mind. She's not just a person who likes to stitch, who is like, I could do this. She's an artist. And this, I really like it. I'm probably going to order this one too. So with a grain of salt, these in the beginning where I'm like, maybe, I'm probably going to order these. So yes, it says hope. The balm of human life soothes every misfortune. I mean, it's poetry and thread. Well done, Teresa. That, I know you have several releases, but that is the one that really spoke to my heart. And the woman with the little hoop. Yeah. Okay. There are two people that I feel like win market or win, win market. I was trying to think if this was market or expo. As a person who doesn't go, I do confuse them at times. So there are two people I feel like really win market this year. One is Little Robin Designs. They're all bangers. They are. So the first one, this is the Fanciful Sampler. I love a petite sampler with no words. I want to go in and just do a little motif at a time, and then bam, it's done. And this one is just pretty. It's just pretty. So yes, the Fanciful Sampler. A reproduction sampler that she put out that it looks like it would be so soothing to stitch is Jane Jacques. Jacques? It looks French. So Jane Jacques 1819. I just want to dive in and stitch that alphabet. It looks so fun, and it's just pretty to look at. So amazing. This one. I love this style. It's kind of a Berlin woolwork, full coveragey kind of thing. And as a person who's lost their father, this one spoke to me. It doesn't help at all that my father's birthday was this week. Were he still alive, he would have turned 80. So this is My Dear Father by Little Robin Designs. And it's in French, I believe. Mon cher Paris, I say with a Southern woman's wannabe French accent. It's just pretty. It's just pretty. And I think it's very well done. So, Little Robin Designs. Next up, two charts that are the first in a series. I always enjoy the series that this person does every year, and I've never purchased one. Maybe I purchased one here and there, like parts of them, but I think this might be my year. Even though I really don't like to do backstitch, this might be my year. Fragments in Time by Summerhouse Stitchworks is doing a Halloween edition. So they've released number 1 and number 2. The first one, number 1, is this haunted house, which I'm probably going to put both of them up here so you can see them together. So the first one is this haunted house with like lightning striking around it. And then the other one is this cemetery with like kind of an overhanging branch. I'm gonna need to do this. So yeah, so I'm gonna need to figure out how big of a piece of fabric I'm gonna need to do this. I know I have said that I'm not going to do like mystery things anymore, but you can usually like really tell what things are gonna look like all throughout with Summerhouse Stitchworks. I'm gonna love this. And I'll eat my words if I don't. And I will just stitch the ones that I like and do them into little pillows. But right now, I'm in. If anybody wants to do this with me, I'm in. This would be a great Dark 13 stitching every month. there's an idea. Okay. Oh my gosh, this next one. It's beautiful. The composition of it, again, is really unique, and I think it's so artistic. And I am getting this one. This is Remember Me Morning Sampler by Summerhouse Stitchworks. So, I mean, Summerhouse Stitchworks also really, really bringing it to Nashville market this year. You've got like this half an urn and a partial border, and then the urn and the bottom like hit the edge. Like it's a beautiful composition, and I love it. I need to stitch this. Also would be a fantastic dark 13 stitch. Kathy Barrick is also winning market this year. This next one is probably my favorite release. And that's just because it looks so fun to stitch and I love the colors. This is From Velvet to Linen by Kathy Barrick. In fact, I have already told Olivia B that set me one aside. I am going to get this from your shop and I'm going to stitch it. And I believe this might be the one that me and Michelle even talked about both starting. Cozy Egg Michelle. So yeah, From Velvet to Linen. It's beautiful. Sorry about that. I had a phone call come in and it usually doesn't, but it stopped my recording. So that was not ideal. Picking up where I left off. So Kathy Barrick also released a chart called, or is releasing a chart called Affection and Duty. And it has a really kind of gothic-y, creepy feel to it. And you might disagree, but that's the way I see it, with all of these dark birds and then the woman and her face. I'm here for it. And it reads, a sampler resembles an elegant mind, whose passions by reason subdued and refined move only in lines of affection and duty, reflecting a picture of order and beauty. Hold on, we're a little crooked here. Yeah, I like it. May not be one I do immediately or buy immediately, but that will end up in my stash. And last but not least are a couple of releases from the Artsy, a couple of releases by the Artsy Housewife, whose style I just love. It's more modern, but very beautiful. The first one that I really like is Summer Feels. The colors are so pretty, and I love how she mixes like a flat image with an image that has depth to it, and it's just so striking. So I don't know that I would do it on the purple linen. In fact, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't, but I would keep the thread colors the same. It's so pretty. The next one, if you were a fan of the floral motif sampler that everybody did, and in fact I still have that as a whip that I'm working on, this would be a lovely companion piece. This is Pretty Things by the Artsy Housewife, and it's got the same kind of feel to it, but a little bit more of a modern Artsy Housewife vibe. And that's it. Those are the ones that I'm like, these are the bells of the ball of Nashville Needlework Market. So now I have to decide which ones are the ones that I'm definitely getting right away. I don't know. We shall see. What's next? Next, I want to talk about work. If you're new here, you may not know. If you've been around, you know. I work in social work. I work for a nonprofit called Advocates for Children, and we serve the northwest area of Georgia. And we operate numerous programs. I am the program director for CASA of Northwest Georgia. If you're unfamiliar with CASA, CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. And my job is to run a program, and I also have cases because that's how working in nonprofit is. And we recruit and train volunteers to advocate for kids who are in the court system, primarily those who are in the foster care system. So, for example, we're doing a training class right now of a number of would-be volunteers once they get sworn in by a judge. And when they get sworn in, we will give them a case, and that case will be a child or a sibling group who their parents have a case through the court system where those children have either been removed from their custody or there is the risk of that. And the volunteers will advocate for those children throughout that process. They'll talk to everybody involved in the case. They'll see the children regularly, and they will just be an unbiased voice that doesn't work for the court specifically, that doesn't work for the state specifically, who is just there to advocate for that child. And it's where my heart is. I've been doing this work for well over a decade now. In fact, my 12-year anniversary with this company is coming up. And even before that, I worked in the juvenile court system for years in a different position. But that is the program that I run through Advocates for Children. We are completely funded through grants and people like you who donate to our company. And I don't know what you know about federal grants or state grants, but there was a temporary freeze earlier this year. There's the possibility of further cuts. Cuts have already been made in the past year, and funding is just very uncertain. And that's a scary time to work for a nonprofit. I'm not so much worried about me as I am about all of the kids and the families that we serve. I want to be able to continue to provide services to them at the level that we always have. My particular program functions at, and this isn't just me tooting my own horn, we function at a very high level. We try to provide advocates to almost every single child in foster care in our area. And in my particular county, we do a very good job of that. We have newly started working in another county, and we're increasing in our numbers there. All of this to say, we are going to be doing not another duck derby, but we are going to be doing a 5K race in May. And around the same time that I heard that was going to be happening, a stitcher that I am good friends with reached out to me, and she said, Emily, I can't really see to stitch anymore, and I have all of this stuff, so much stuff that I'm never going to use, and could I sell it? Yes. Could I give it to you? Yeah. So I have so much stuff sitting next to me that she has given me. I drove down, spent 8 hours in the car on Sunday, and got all of this stuff from her. And I'm going to separate it into lots, and we are going to raffle it off, duck derby style. And I've set up a website with the help of one of my coworkers where you can adopt pinwheels, because our 5K this year is called the Pinwheel Pursuit. If you live in the United States, or maybe even other countries, I know it is a nationwide thing in the United States, pinwheels are a symbol of child abuse prevention. So I'll kind of put what the website looks like here, so you know that if you go down below that you're in the right place. So that's the website, and you can adopt pinwheels. It's going to work the exact same way that the duck derby worked. Every $5 that you donate will adopt 1 pinwheel. There are ways where, just like with the duck derby, that you can get 6 pinwheels for the price of 5. So you can get more bang for your buck. The upside this time is you're going to be able to use different forms of payment. Like if you prefer to Google Pay or Apple Pay or Venmo or PayPal, I believe those are all options through this fundraising platform that we now use. So check that out. Please go and adopt pinwheels. I will do a drawing for all of this stuff on May 17th. As per history, the wonderful Brenda and Laura have offered themselves up again as a grand prize. So whoever adopts the largest amount of pinwheels, like if you just went insane and spent a lot of money and donated it to our nonprofit organization, that would put you in the front run to get to hang out virtually with me and Brenda and Laura. And we always have a really good time in the past when we've done this. Then, because I believe in like equality, and that people who make this much money should not have more opportunity than people that make this much money, that is also going to be something that's available to win as a raffle prize. So you could adopt 1 pinwheel, and if your name gets drawn by me first, and I go, okay, go and pick your prize out of all the different lots and things that you want, if the hangout with all of us is still on there, you could spend $5 and get to hang out with us. With that said, if you're like, Emily, I just want to donate and I don't want to be entered into the raffle, there's a buy raffle tickets button and then there's a donate button. So that will make it easy and you can go either way. I have not looked at any of this. So we are going to see what is in here, like one of these bags together. This looks like needlepoint canvas. So we've got some needlepoint canvas here. This looks like, ooh, this stitcher must have preferred John James needles, because this is a box just completely full of John James 28 needles. And 26, we have a variety. We have some peacemakers in here. Just a nice little box of needles. We have unused floss away bags. It looks like this whole first bag is mainly Kathy Barrick. We have Peach Orchard Farm by Kathy Barrick with the threads. We have Hearts and Flowers by Kathy Barrick with the threads. Ida Mae Crow by Kathy Barrick with the threads. Strawberry Bird with threads. Pennsylvania Fracture Heart with threads. And these are all DMC that she has these kitted up with, which it would be my preferred threads for these. Oh, this is one on my list to stitch. Dear Heart by Kathy Barrick with the threads. Oh, here's a random non-Kathy Barrick. Oh. There's some special things in here. This is Plum Street Samplers Harvest Delivery with threads. This has the gast. Guys, this is With My Needle by The Good Huswife. An out of print chart with threads. Oh, you're upside down. Okay, sorry. This is Map of Hawthorne Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. This has the threads. Is this? I'm trying to figure out if that is. No, this is DMC. And Map of Hawthorne Hollow, kitted with the DMC and the called for fabric of vintage lakeside linen autumn gold in 40 count. An extremely hard to get fabric. That's cool. Sunflower Farm by Kathy Barrick. This has linen and threads. That looks like maybe it came as a kit, the way that it is put together. And I know this was sold as a kit. Yes, this was a kit. Miss Martha's Potting Shed by Kathy Barrick with the threads. If you can hear that, that is our tornado siren test. Hold, please. Okay, I think they're done with their tornado siren test, which I'm glad they do. But it gave me a chance to pull the rest of the stuff out of this bag and kind of look at it for a second before you guys. So we have Dear Santa by Kathy Barrick with threads. Unless I say otherwise, they are DMC. We have Blue Spruce by Kathy Barrick with threads. Halloween Birthday by Kathy Barrick with threads. Carriage House Samplings Sampler Stocking. This does not have threads, it's just the chart. Mother Nature by Kathy Barrick with the threads. The Embroideress Stocking by Kathy Barrick. I really love this one. I've liked this one. And it has the threads. I've stitched this one. I need to find it and frame it. I've got it in my finishes somewhere. This is one of the first pieces that I did. I think I've stitched this one. Yes. This is Carriage House Samplings, The Curse of the Raven. I think this one is hard to find now. It's just the chart. This one is on my to stitch list, and this one is kitted with silks. This is The Garden Glade by Carriage House Samplings. Beautiful chart, one of my favorites, and it is kitted here with MPI. That's not it. That was in just that bag, which is only a tiny fraction of all of the stuff next to me. In this bag, because these are actually kitted, this is 3 chairs, which is one I think it's very unique and unusual. I like it. 3 chairs by Carriage House Samplings. And this is kitted with DMC. And, oh, it's even started a little. So yeah, this is kitted with, oh, the needles in here. Oh. This is started with, this is definitely Picture This Plus, the feel of it. Let me see if, and she's using 2 threads. So this is, I'd have to count it out. This is either 36 or 32. It looks a little small for 32. Here we go. Doubloon. 32 count doubloon. So that's pretty cool. I love the idea of taking over where another stitcher started something, even if it's a small start like that. And then the last one we're going to look at is one that I have already stitched, and it's a really fun stitch. This is, hold on. It looks like she made a working copy is what I'm looking at. This is The Village of Hawthorne Hollow, which I have hanging in my dining room. I did some edits to it, like put mine in Jim's name and took out the church. Kitted with DMC as I'm feeling it to tell if it's DMC or silks. And 36 count vintage country mocha. It does not look like this has been started. She just has it ready to start. So yeah, guys, there's so much stuff over here. There's tons of charts, tons of linens, tons of threads. There's one bag hidden all the way in the back that is full of plastic containers of Silks by Vicki Clayton. I mean, there's a lot. So I am also going to say, if you are a person who in years past have donated things to me to add to what I'm giving away, and if you want to do that again this year, reach out to me. We can talk about that. If it's just like things like I've already got here, maybe not, because I am a one-woman show trying to organize all of this stuff. If you have some fully kitted things, if you have something that you want to donate that you think would really bring in people adopting pinwheels, like something that is unusual or out of print, reach out to me. If you have something that you know would bring in people like a quilt or a crocheted blanket or a hand-hooked rug or something like, one year I had someone say that they would knit someone a custom-made pair of socks. I mean, to me, these are all fantastic things to win in a raffle. So reach out to me if that is something that you would want to assist with or donate, or you can just go to the link down below and just donate money. I'm not above saying that that's what we need to keep our everything operational and up and running. So there will be more about this in future videos. I will share way more. If you want to know more about our nonprofit and all the programs that we run, because we have a children's home here locally. We actually just cut the ribbon on a new larger facility for local kids, and it's going to have a location for runaway and homeless youth, a place where those kids who are young adults can come in and seek resources and services, take a shower, wash their clothes. We have another program that hooks those young adults up with housing, like say kids that have aged out of the foster care system and didn't want to remain in the system, but now I've decided it's hard to do this on my own. They can help them find housing and maybe pay their bills for the first couple of months and teach them all those adult things like banking and getting a car and resumes, and they help them with all that kind of stuff that a lot of people don't have the parent or the adult in their life that usually mentors them with. We do a lot of good in our communities, and we serve many counties in this area of Georgia. So go to our website, www.advochild.org, and check us out and make the decision for yourself whether or not you want to partake in the raffle of all of the Stitchy goodness and potentially win something, or if you just want to donate some money to help us out. And again, all of this will conclude on May 17th, which gives us just a little over 2 months. Okay, that's a lot. I'm running this whole program, managing a caseload, dealing with the goings on in the world, and I've decided to do a raffle giveaway again and take this on. So keep me in your thoughts and prayers. Burn candles, burn sage, whatever you do. And before we go away though, we're going to end on a good note. We're going to talk some books. I thought about doing a separate video for books, but we're going to do it now. These that you can see right here are the books that I have read since I took reading back up again. So rather than kind of do a book haul, which as you can see, a lot of these I already owned, a lot of them are recent purchases, used book purchases. Remember, I'm thrifty, not spendy. But we're going to talk about the ones I've actually read. Okay. I read We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kluwer. And this is a book about a couple. They're a female couple, and they buy this house to flip it because it's kind of what they do in this town. And it's out in the woods. It's this beautiful old house. Something's not quite right. And on top of that, one member of the couple, like one of the first nights there, her partner is gone, and there's a knock at the door, and she answers it, and it's a man and his wife and their 2 kids. And he's like, hey, I used to live here. I grew up here as a kid. Do you mind if I bring my family in and show them around? If not, that's okay. And she lets them in. I really enjoyed this book. If you're a person who needs a neatly tied up ending, it may not be the book for you. The ending, when I finished it, made me go and start reading what other people thought about the book and what they thought really was going on and happened. And I was pleased to see that a lot of people thought what I thought. And I liked it. I thought it was really good. In between the chapters, you've got a lot of, like, you'll have a chapter that's current, and then you'll have like a news article, and then you'll have a current chapter, and then you'll have a radio transcript or something like that. So it all comes together, and it's pretty cool. Next, I read Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This was my first Riley Sager book, and I've since read another one, which we'll get to. I really enjoyed this one. This was a woman named Maggie. Her parents, when she was little, bought a house, and they moved out within a month because apparently, allegedly, it was haunted. It was so bad, they moved out in the middle of the night. Her dad wrote a book about it, and like that's where their money came from pretty much after that. Like, she was known as the little girl who lived in the haunted house because of her dad's book. So her parents divorced, and when her father passes away, it turns out he still owns the house, and it has been left to her. So she goes back there. I enjoyed this a lot. There was one scene in particular that I was reading in the tub, and it made me squeal, and like Jim came in thinking I was not okay. Like, it made me audibly like, ah! I liked this book. I thought it was a good time. This was one of my favorite reads, and I think Book of the Month named this as, they awarded it, like, I think they call it the Lolly. This was like their best book of 2024. People voted. It's good. It is a thicker book, and it made me purchase another novel by this author that I have not read yet. This is The God of the Woods. It is not a horror novel like most of these other ones. It is a historical fiction. Like, you really have to pay attention when you're reading this book, because it goes in between lots of different characters and timelines. But what I do really like about it is, like, it's anywhere from the 50s up until what's present day in this book, which is the 70s, 1975. And it tells you at the top of every chapter, like, who it is and what the timeline is. It bolds what year it is. But this is essentially about a children's summer camp in the 70s, and a little girl goes missing. Read it. It's really good. I cried at the end, and I don't cry. I have a cold black heart, but I cried at the end of this. I really enjoyed it. And I don't want to give more away than that. But it's mystery, crime, historical literature, if you like the 70s. But there's another one I believe that I read that was more 70s. Yeah, so we'll get to that. This one I also really liked. This is These Silent Woods by Kimmy Cunningham Grant. This is the story of a man and his young daughter who are living basically off the grid in this cabin. And you know that they're off the grid in this cabin because something that happened in this father's past. And he's basically hiding from the world, and only 2 people know he's there. And a series of events kind of lead for that to have to change. So good. I made one of my coworkers read this after I read it, and like we talked about it after he finished it. It was so good. Another one that at one point made me cry. But this one was a good one. It does have some flashbacks to when he was in Afghanistan, if that's a trigger for you. So there's that. Grady Hendrix, How to Sell a Haunted House. I thought I was going to love this book. Halfway through it, I hated this book. I finished it. Something that it does not really say, that I feel like they should say, is there's evil puppets. I was not into the evil puppets. Like, that was not something that I found scary. I found it kind of goofy, which I guess a lot of Grady Hendrix's books can be. And I almost didn't read another Grady Hendrix book after this, but we'll get to that. What I did enjoy about this book was how it dealt with grief and family dynamics after losing a parent. It's essentially, there is a daughter who has moved far away from her family, and her parents die. Well, like, there's an accident and they die. This is all like in the blurb. So she has to go back for the funeral, and she and her brother don't get along at all. And there's the sibling drama, and then trying to figure out what to do with what's left, the house, the belongings. And then there's like something weird going on. I mean, the grief part, there was a part at the end that got to me, having a person who has lost a parent. So I wasn't mad that I read it. I was glad I finished it. But that's an odd book. This was an odd book. And I'll leave it at that. I read another Grady Hendrix book, and I'm glad I did, because this one was so much better. This is his newest release, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. A lot of people gave him a hard time for writing this book as a male taking on like a female issue, because this is essentially, it's set in the 70s, and it's about a young girl who gets pregnant as a teenager out of wedlock, and she gets sent to a home where her family hides her away until she has the baby, and only then can she come back into society. Like, they're keeping it a secret. She has to go there until she has the baby, then she can come home. And it's full of other girls who are in the exact same situation. And they begin to dabble in some witchcraft. I really enjoyed this book. I did. And the people who haven't enjoyed it said that they just don't generally enjoy books with witches. Like, I liked it. It was a good time. It is a longer book. I really do feel like he did a really good job at dealing with teen pregnancy and like women's right to choose, and it was good. I liked it. Would recommend. Rachel Harrison, Black Sheep. This was a horror novel, and it was good. It was not what I expected. It leads you to believe that, like, you think that she grew up. Essentially, she's moved to, it's another story where she has moved away from her family, but then she gets an invitation to a wedding. So she hasn't heard from her family for years because she left the church, and she's decided to leave the family's like very, it doesn't really, I'm trying to remember how it explains it, but basically she no longer is a part of the family's religion, in the community religion. So she leaves, and they don't talk to her, and she doesn't talk to them because she left the church. But then she gets this wedding invitation, and she's like, well, it was my best friend from childhood, so I should go back. She goes back. It is not what you think it is. It's a wild ride. I liked it, but yeah. I don't want to spoil anything. So yeah. Good time. This is a book I pulled for Black History Month. I really wanted to read a book written by a Black author. So I pulled this book, Jackal by Erin Adams, and I liked it up until the very end. And that's not unusual for me with more of like a thriller. But then this kind of had a horror-esque component. I would have liked it if it just stayed straight thriller and left out the horror element, which is weird for me to say. But I did really enjoy this book, and I enjoyed reading something from a Black main character and seeing how that changes her perception of the world, and it made me look at things differently than I have looked at them previously, or was even capable of looking at them. But essentially, same trope. She goes back home for a wedding. Her best friend is getting married. And at the wedding, her best friend's child goes missing. And she was supposed to be the one watching her. And she kind of starts tying it together with other missing girls over the years that have gone missing in similar circumstances. And they're all young Black girls. And it's pretty good. I enjoyed this. And it also has different perspectives. Okay, almost there. The next Riley Sager book that I read was Final Girls. I decided to do this one next because this was his very first book. It's essentially follows the main character of Quinn, who she had gone to a cabin with a bunch of friends 10 years prior, and essentially everyone was murdered, slasher style, except for her. She was injured, but she got away. She was the final girl. And she's lumped in with two other women from across the country who have had similar situations, whether in a motel or in a sorority house, where they were the final girl. And it just kind of takes you through trying to think what's in here so I don't give it away. Yeah. Okay, so the very first final girl, Lisa, is found dead. So then it kind of like reawakens everything. The media is back in her life again. Could she be next? What is going on? I really enjoyed this one. There was a twist at the end that I didn't necessarily see coming, but I was okay with it. It was good. This was a good time. I am going to continue to read more books by him, which is good because I have a shelf full. Last one, I finished this one last night. This is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I really liked this book. I enjoyed it all the way through. I read some reviews on it, and I do agree with people that there was definitely felt like there was some hidden agendas at times in this book. And one of them I don't want to say because it's kind of a spoiler, but it felt politically like maybe the author is very right-leaning and had some opinions on atheism and immigration and other things, but you could feel differently in reading it. But other people felt the same way as I was reading reviews. One of the main issues, I can't say because it would ruin the ending. So don't read reviews if you don't want that spoiled. Read it and let me know what you think. I would be very curious to know how other people feel about this. But it does have photos. Like, part of the point of it is this fresh out of rehab young lady goes to an affluent suburb. Her sponsor has hooked her up with this family where she can be basically the nanny for this child for a summer, and it could potentially be long-term, like if she does a really good job. So she starts taking care of this little boy named Teddy, and they spend their days together through the summer, but then he starts drawing weird pictures. And then she's kind of in the middle of a mystery of trying to figure out why this child is doing this and what's going on. I'll leave it at that because shit gets kind of crazy. That's like an hour-long video, probably more. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know what your Nashville market picks are, if you agree with me, if any of those are ones that you are definitely wanting to get, if any of them you would want to start with me. Let me know your thoughts on pinwheel adoptions, because I'm hoping this goes well, because with grant and funding cuts, we could really use an extra boost in revenue at the moment. I mean, that's just me being transparent and real. So I'm excited to continue to dig into all of this stuff and start separating it into lots. And I will do it the same way that I did previously, rather than take up, I'm not an internet-y website creative person. I want to say bandwidth rather than taking up a large amount of bandwidth on our fundraising website. I will probably do as I did before, and all of the pictures of the lots will go on my Facebook page in an album so that you can peruse them there. I will be sharing more spoilers of what all of the items are in later videos, and I will be sharing some of the really cool stuff on my Instagram. If you don't already, go follow me on Instagram. That's a really good way to stay in the loop with stuff like this. I'm Eclectic Possessions on Instagram. I post, if not every day, multiple times throughout the week. So you will always know what's going on with me. And yeah. The website to adopt pinwheels is down below. Jump in. The more you adopt, the more chances you have to win. And also, the person that adopts most, like I said, would be a guaranteed winner of the virtual hangout. So I will see you next time, or in the vlog that I will be posting soon. Bye, guys. And thanks again for always watching and for just being here. I was editing this video, and I'm popping back in for a second because I completely forgot one book that I read. And that is because it's not on my shelf. I loaned it to a friend of mine at court, and she has it right now. So I also read a newer release called Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fito. This book. Do not read this book if you don't like intense horror. It is, to me, it's kind of like, if you saw the movie, read the book American Psycho. It is about a governess in the Victorian period. It's more like a novella based on the length. And her name is Winifred Naughty. And she is not okay. The book is very unhinged. And it is grotesque and gory and brutal. And if you enjoy that sometimes in a book, go get it and read it. I enjoyed it, but at the end I finished it and I was laying in bed with Jim and I closed it and I looked over at him and I said, what did I just read? It's unhinged is the best way I can describe this book. If harm against children or harm against anything or anyone, brutal harm is a trigger for you, do not read this book. If you like extreme horror, go for it. One reason I picked it up so quickly after it was released and read it is it was just very intriguing to me. I had not seen a premise like that where she's just a sociopath that has been unleashed upon this household. And A24 has already signed on to do a movie based on this book. So I was like, okay, I'm going to want to read it so that when that movie comes out, I have read it and am ready. So yes, Victorian Psycho. Back to your regularly scheduled programming.